Welcome to Reddit Tea Time. Am I the bonehead for unintentionally coming across as fatphobic to my bio family, who I never met before? I, male 36, was a day one adoption. Bio parents never even saw me. My adopted parents raised their family where we were encouraged to be healthy, but not pushed to be crazy about it. Like eat healthy and walk when you can, but not necessarily feel pushed to do sports or go to the gym. I do exercise regularly, though. Anyway, I never really had a burning desire to find my bio family, but I received a DNA kit from a coworker as a birthday gift, and figured there was no harm. They don't know I'm adopted. What I didn't expect was to find a full-blooded sister. Turns out I have 3 sisters and a brother. She reached out to me first, and after a few months back and forth, and advice from my dad, I drove out to see them over the holidays. When I drove up to the house, I admittedly thought I had the wrong address at first. The whole family, siblings, parents, grandparents, etc., were outside waiting for me. They were also all morbidly obese. I don't mean that figuratively. My bio mother is basically Darlene Cates from What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and they didn't get much smaller from there. With that said, I tried to put it out of my mind and focus on the positive of meeting my family. The visit was going okay. It felt a little forced. Until dinner. A literal feast was prepared to the extent that there were more options than I could eat. In the end, I could only manage a plate and a half. The rest of the visit went fine, and I left happy to have met them. It wasn't until I got home that I saw the missed messages. I was accused of being a fatphobic bonehead. Everything from my initial confusion when I arrived to how little I ate was scrutinized. I was told I made everyone feel judged and unwanted. I honestly don't care about people's weight, but I also won't pretend that I wasn't put off by them at first. In my defense, I wasn't expecting them to be so heavy, but I also think I demonstrated that I wasn't going to let myself judge a book by its cover. I don't know. Am I the bonehead? Edit. I was not expecting this sort of response. I will try to add some additional detail below. I was asked a lot about my life and family. We compared traditions. I was asked about school and clubs. I was on the high school baseball team. I was more into Yu-Gi-Oh trading cards and being in plays than sports, but I had a love for baseball because of an anime. We talked about travel. They do a yearly Disney cruise. I've never traveled, but I go camping a lot in the fall. Dinner was a feast. There just wasn't enough room in my stomach to try everything. I was expecting to meet my siblings and parents. Present, however, were aunts, uncles, cousins. It was the holidays, and it seemed I was invited to the big family dinner, not just a private dinner. If I had to describe myself, I look like any 36-year-old male who isn't out of shape, but whom time is catching up with. From the comments, I can understand, however, that this is irrelevant if viewed through the lens of, by comparison. Now for some comments. No, not the bonehead. Sounds like they are the ones with the problem. They might have been mentally surfing on the "it's genetics" thing their entire lives as a reason for being overweight. Seeing you probably brought a harsh reality crash that their issues are from lifestyle over anything else. Sometimes a reality hit like that makes people lash out and blame others rather than taking responsibility for their own actions. I'm sorry for you that they let something that petty be a negative for your first meeting of the bio family. I think it's totally normal to look confused when meeting bio family after 36 years. You literally have no clue what to expect, even if there had been social media pictures shared ahead of time. Unless you openly called them all fat, eating a plate and a half is a perfectly normal amount to eat. You shouldn't have to force yourself to eat more than what's comfortable to make them feel better about themselves. This was a really hard situation for you, and it seems none of them even thought to think about how you would feel meeting literal full-blooded siblings after all this time. Not the bonehead. Don't doubt yourself and do what you need to do to keep the peace in your life. P.S. I'm also going to assume that even if you were put off originally, I doubt it's because of weight, unless there's a history of you being fatphobic to others. You met bio family after 36 years. I would be freaked out if I saw a resemblance to myself. I never saw in my parents or siblings growing up. I mean, this really was a big deal, and you not being in a 100% perfect mindset or friendly is okay. They need to give you more grace as the adoptee to get to know them. This wasn't going to be an easy or seamless meeting. This was a first, and maybe last time, meeting them. Not the bonehead. You didn't do anything wrong. My guess? They tell each other they have big bones and fat genes to absolve themselves of any responsibility for their size. I had family members do the same. I've been overweight most of my life, only recently due to a medical issue have I finally started eating better and exercising. What do you know? I'm losing the weight. I know others have medical complications that make losing weight even more difficult than it already is, but a lot of it really does come down to choices and effort. They saw you, and you're not fat. That means it's not out of their control. It's not an inevitability. They cannot resolve your healthy size with their belief that there is nothing they can do about their unhealthy size. Instead of using that knowledge to recognize the flaw in their thinking and better themselves, they're trying to tear you down instead. You ate a plate and a half and they're attacking you for eating too little? Wild. Maybe consider slowing down the meat and greets until you know these people better. They might intentionally or unintentionally attempt to instill bad habits and ideas. This really has nothing to do with you and everything to do with themselves. Not the bonehead. Am I the bonehead for not waking up my female 37 boyfriend, male 38 for a funeral? My boyfriend sleeps over usually Friday to Monday nights and leaves with me when I go to work Tuesday morning, leaving sometime between 7:45 a.m. and 8:15 a.m. Not totally related, but note that I am getting irritated with this as I pay full rent and he lives with his mom and has been unemployed for 3 years. He has a service for his grandfather who passed today, Tuesday morning, and I know about this and the time he'd be getting picked up by his uncle to go. Part of our subway system is currently shut down, so there are shuttle replacements which he hates taking. The other option is a commuter train, but those only come so often. Last night I looked up 2 commuter rail times for him and said we could leave for the 8:09 or the 8:28. I woke up at 7:50 a.m. and made us both coffee. I put one next to his face in bed and loudly said good morning, coffee, and he just rolled over. I then continued getting ready while singing loudly, my cat is meowing up a storm, etc. I need to rush to get to work myself and am getting ready in the bathroom. As I'm finishing getting ready, he jumps up and is mad it's already 8:20. Pissed he's going to miss the commuter train and saying he is now going to have to take the shuttle, which he hates. He's swearing and all pissed off. I said I tried to wake him up and offered to get him an Uber. He said, "You needed to shake me awake." I said, "That's not my responsibility." I looked up the next train for him, which he could still make, or he could then take a shuttle, or I offered an Uber. I needed to get on my way to work and was ready to leave. On the elevator down, he accused me of snapping at him by saying that's not my responsibility and was mad because he's going to his grandfather's service. I do feel badly because this was an important service, but also I'm not his mother and not responsible for making sure he wakes himself up. I have responsibilities myself and tried to get him up with a coffee and offered an Uber. He did not miss the service as there were alternative routes to get there on time. They just weren't as cheap or convenient. Now for some comments. Why are you with this gigantic loser anyway? Lives with his mom at 38. Has been unemployed for 3 years. Too spoiled, incompetent, snobbish, to take public transport. Doesn't value family. Can't keep appointments. Requires you to micromanage the simplest rail trip. Won't get up when needed. Total failure to adult. Does not take responsibility. Blames you for his failures. Edit. And this gem from your comments. He hates the subway and threatened that he'd punch someone in the face on it. Not the bonehead. Your boyfriend sounds like he doesn't know how to adult. Lives with parents, no job, can't be bothered to get himself up on time for something? Not the bonehead. I have to ask, why are you with this person? What do they bring to the table besides unemployment and expectations that you mother him when he's not at the home he resides in with his actual mother? He takes up your space, utilizes your utilities, sleeps in your bed, eats your food, and expects you to be an alarm clock. Am I the bonehead for expecting my brother to pay for a new phone after I damaged mine saving his son? My male 19 brother, male 24, was watching his son, male 3, when they were over at our parents' place this weekend, but he got distracted for a minute and my nephew fell into the backyard swimming pool. Thank God I heard it in time and jumped into the pool and saved him. We are all aware a tragedy could have happened. Everyone is still in shock, and my father already started working on gating the pool. I did have another kind of financial loss, though, because I had my cell phone in my pocket when I jumped in the pool, and it is dead now. I told my brother I will look to buy a new one and send him the bill. He thinks he is not responsible for paying and says he cannot believe that's what I'm thinking about after his son almost died. So I said it was his fault that his son almost died. He should be down on his knees, thanking God and kissing my feet for saving his son's life, and the least he can do is pay for a phone of my choice. My mother says to give him time. Am I the bonehead for insisting here? Now, for some comments. Not the bonehead. How much time does your mother expect you to give your brother? I'm assuming you need your phone on a daily basis like the rest of us, and it can't wait. Your brother should absolutely cover your costs. Had you saved one of my children's lives, I'd buy you the most expensive version out there. The part I'm stumbling on is phone of my choice. An equivalent to what you have or the repair costs I could understand, assuming a night in rice didn't work, but it sounds like you're trying to upgrade. Not the bonehead, but I highly recommend you send it to a proper repair shop and ask if they can try to fix the water damage. Chances are they can, and the bill would be significantly less. That could help diffuse the situation. But overall, good job saving the kid. You did the right thing without thinking about the phone. Am I the bonehead for allowing a kid to sit in my car? I, female 36, usually have time to drive my daughter to the bus stop every morning before work. Last week, where we were, it was -11 wind chill. There is a kid, male 12 to 14, middle school aged, that comes down to the bus stop as well. I do not know him nor his parents. This is relevant to the story. On Friday, when it was -11, he came out in nothing but a thin pullover. I felt like I couldn't ethically allow a kid to stand out in such cold weather when I had a warm car he could sit in. He took my offer and sat in my back seat while me and my daughter spoke. He kept his AirPods in and didn't say much other than saying thank you. Buses were running about 15 minutes late as well, so nobody really should have been out in that. However, yesterday while I was walking my dog, a woman came up to me. She asked me why I took her son into my car. I explained that the weather was well into the negatives and he was not wearing a coat, and the bus was quite late. She told me to never do that again and that what I did was incredibly creepy and to leave her son alone. I was taken aback. I just offered the kid a warm place to sit and didn't even speak to him. I feel bad because of course I never want to come across as creepy or overstepping boundaries. But I also feel like if the roles were reversed and I was unable to take my daughter to the bus stop, and this mom offered her a place to sit, I would be thankful. I feel bad for doing something I thought was nice. Is this weird? Am I the bonehead? Now, for some comments. Not the bonehead. Let's weigh the options. Not be creepy, but let a child freeze in extremely cold weather. Come across as creepy, but provide a safe and warm shelter to a child. Given the circumstances, it's better you chose option 2. Maybe you could have proactively reached out to that kid's parents and told them about the incident as an assurance. But even though you didn't, it doesn't make you wrong. I do get where the other mom was coming from, but at least the child in question didn't freeze in such a bad weather. Speaking as a former child who got frostbite in both hands at the age of 10, thank you for caring about someone else's child. You are not the bonehead. The mother's concern is valid, But she also was the parent who sent or allowed her child to go to a bus stop in weather that could have seriously harmed him. Instead of thanking you for protecting her child from harm, or even asking why you had her child in your car, she's attacking you. To me, it appears she is deflecting blame and trying to make you out to be the villain, so the conversation is diverted from why she allowed her child to be at risk. You did the right thing, but if it happens again, call the school to report the child neglect, and then the cops to come pick up the kid, not the bonehead. You made a kind offer and her son accepted it. If she doesn't trust her son's judgment, then maybe she shouldn't leave him alone in negative 11-degree weather. You might say, your choice. Would you rather I let your son sit in my car, or would you rather I call Child Protective Services? Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next Reddit story.